Welcome to the Uncommon Freedom Show. Our purpose is to equip and inspire you to reach your potential, maximize your impact, and live a great life while you make the world a better place. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Becca. We're your hosts. In this episode, we are recapping our family's recent experience serving on a mission trip with a Lighthouse Family Retreat. Lighthouse Family Retreat is a nonprofit ministry designed to strengthen families living through childhood cancer by offering restorative retreats and helpful resources. You can learn more about them by going to their website at lighthousefamilyretreat.org.
Well, good evening, morning, or afternoon, everyone. Kevin and Becca back in the saddle here. It's been a few weeks since Becca and I have been together. Hey, babe.
Hi, babe.
Happy Father's Day
to yourself,
to myself, and to all the other fathers out there who listen to this show.
Yes.
So we are recording this the evening of Father's Day, and kind of a unique Father's Day for us because our three boys are visiting our good friends Will and Amanda Gutierrez, who live in Bakersfield, California.
Yes.
They are super special people. Will is just an amazing guy that connected with our kids about 2.5 years ago when he was at our house for an event, and the kids came by at the end and he was just throwing the football with them. And he just loves kids. He's a pastor. He came out of the gang lifestyle in LA, has an amazing testimony. And I tell you,
need to interview him on show.
Absolutely. No, he is.
Let's have a follow-up on that.
We will have a follow-up.
Yes.
But, as a parent, if you don't have some godly men and women, especially men that can speak into your boys and women that can speak into your girls that are non-family members, I really encourage you to seek them out and ask the Lord to provide them for you. Obviously, Will just kind of came out of nowhere for us.
Yeah.
We didn't know him that well, but our kids just look forward to the time with him. And he's an amazing mentor and just a spiritual mentor to them. And so they look forward. This is the second summer in a row where they've done a trip. And this was really kind of the only opportunity that worked for both of us. And I had already decided that I was going to play golf on Father's Day for the second year in a row, since it's my day. And since I was going to be gone for much of the day anyway, I said, you know what, let's let the boys have fun.
Give him your blessing. Let him travel.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we have been enjoying.
Oh, I need to give Amanda a shout out. I'm sorry, but before we move on.
She has 8 boys.
First of all, last year when she had our boys, she was pregnant with her 4th son. So she
was due like within 2 weeks of the boys being our boys visit. And they visited last year for an entire week.
Yes, bless them.
Unbelievable.
Bless Amanda. So then she birthed their beautiful 4th son, and now she has 7 boys in that house.
No, 8.
8.
No, 7.
Well, I mean, I think Will's a man.
Yeah, he is a man.
He might behave like a boy. Will, if you hear this, we love you. Kevin just called you a boy. But the bottom line is, yes, she is outnumbered 8-1. Amanda, you are a rock star. So we love you very much. We pray blessings on that family for pouring into our boys, and we are so grateful. Okay, actually, I do have a question for you that we were not planning, but since Austin shared last time with me, and we both agreed that he's very wise, but also a little bit soft-spoken and talks a little slowly for the podcast. So hopefully for the 10 minutes, people hung in there and got some nuggets out of his speed of trust.
Oh, he nailed it. Every time he reads
He's a soft talker, like my father. So we asked, please, Austin, speak up, speak loudly. He only gets animated when certain moments of life. And when he is animated, watch out. But he's a steady character right now as a teenager. Anyway, I would like to hear your response to the licking comment that was made about you.
You know what? It's just funny how the things that kids pick up on, and I would like to hear your response to the licking comment.
Let's keep this clean, people. This is a PG-rated show, G-rated show.
Okay.
Very good. I mean, what can I say?
I do have an unbelievably long tongue.
Yes, you do.
I can touch, and I just demonstrated, I can touch the tip of my nose with my tongue.
Yes, you do. And we've all laughed because Kevin is also a fan of 80s rockers. And is it Kiss that has the very long tongue? And therefore, yes, okay. If you're watching this on video, you can now see a demonstration. But I wouldn't have picked it as my favorite feature for you, but I do think it's nice. I'll just leave it at that. I feel like I'm going to be starting to blush now. But it's hilarious that I never picked up on, you licking the peanut butter knife or the yogurt container.
You know what?
Have a little sip of beverage, babe.
I did. I played golf today. I'm dehydrated, even though I've had like 200 ounces of water. So
I'm still disappointed they didn't come up with anything for me because I know that I probably drive them nuts. I'm sure it's mostly just the nagging. I probably sound like the Charlie Brown teacher to my teenage sons right now. Yes, exactly. But I have yet to hear what Austin thinks my idiosyncrasy is. So I just think it was hilarious that he and Carson talk about it. So
it was funny. But
yes.
Why waste peanut butter? I mean, it's a delicious treat.
Why, babe? Why?
All right. So today we are winding down the parenting series, which I think we probably said once or twice before.
Yes.
But we're going to deviate from our next planned podcast and just kind of recap a really cool experience. It was exhausting for sure, but just over a week ago, we wrapped up about a full week serving with a ministry called Lighthouse Family Retreats, and you can look them up on the World Wide Web at lighthousefamilyretreat.org.
The World Wide Web, people.
Yes.
Also known as the internet.
The internet, yes. Al Gore invented it about, 30 years ago or so?
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel so old.
Yeah.
We both can remember when it was dial-up.
Absolutely. But anyways,
okay.
lighthousefamilyretreat.org, an amazing ministry. We learned about them, I want to say about 8 to 10 years ago. We heard a podcast with their, I think, executive director, Chris Woodruff, who has become a friend of mine, and some of the families that they served. And their primary target is serving families that are living through children with childhood cancer.
Yes.
Which, when you just hear, it's something we do not take for granted, the fact that we have 4 basically healthy children. And we've had, some minor issues, broken bones, but no major illnesses or issues. And when I heard this podcast, I shared it with you and I said, we've got to support them financially. They're doing amazing work. And immediately God put it on my heart that at some point we would do a serve on a retreat. It's basically a mission trip, but they happen here in the United States. But we just needed to get to kids who were at the right ages. And then probably around the time when they were at the right ages, we ended up adopting Evie. So we just had to push that back. So we finally served this year. I mean, we really have like this summer and next summer, the last probably 2 summers, that we can do something like that with Carson, because he's entering his junior years. Yeah. So nothing like, a little bit of pressure to make it happen, but we did make it happen. And it was an experience. You want to talk about it, babe?
Sure. So, first of all, we didn't exactly know what we were getting ourselves into, even though they did multiple Zooms to explain things. And they really made it very simple for us. But we got to show up as the family partners. And so our job for that week was to take care of the families coming in who have at least one child with childhood cancer. And obviously to make the experience as special as possible for those families, the siblings, as well as the kids who are actually in treatment. And we also know that, because so many of the siblings just don't have a normal childhood either, that part of that mission was just to help them, enjoy life, have an unbirthday party, and just really get to experience being a kid. And then it was a single mom retreat, the one that we served at. So it was all single moms with their kids. So a lot of need.
Yeah. And a couple of just really interesting things is that the way that this works, the family partners that come and serve have to raise or donate to cover not only for their family or individuals. You can serve as an individual, and there's like adult prices and then there's child prices as far as what your donation needs to be or the support you need to raise. And what we raise also helps to cover the expense for the retreat family, which is the family that's coming that has someone who has been affected by cancer. The other thing is just that when this started, I can't remember how long ago Lighthouse was founded, but they tried to do retreats as much as possible on the beach, because we experienced after our retreat, and we spent a couple days at Sea Island and went to the beach. I think we kind of forget as adults what a magical experience it is for kids to see the beach. And so I know that one of the passions of the Lighthouse staff and the executive team is to just give these kids a chance to be at the beach, because what they've shared is that many times the kids attending, it's the first time they've ever seen the beach. Many times it's the first time they've ever seen the ocean.
Right.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool concept. And as they've grown, I think if I had to estimate the number of volunteers there was probably about 100. And then the
that
total
included kids of all ages.
Yeah,
Lots
exactly.
of teenagers, but some littles, a few kids around Evie's age.
Yeah, and
3, 4,
maybe
5.
even a few younger than Evie, but a wide range of people who are there serving. So there's no cost to the families that are coming as guests or the retreat families, but they do have to get their own transportation. And it was pretty amazing. I heard that one of the families drove from at least 16 hours away. Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty amazing when you think of really how desperate these families are just to get a break. Right. That they would drive with a car full of kids, a single mom. I mean, you think about you hating road trips, doing a 16-hour drive. I mean, that would take you at least 4 days, I think. 4 hours a day is about what you can do. And it would be pretty crazy.
Cut out for life on the road, people.
No, you weren't. So the reason that we chose to do this, and it was interesting just having conversations with our kids, they're like, why do we have to go? You can imagine we've got a almost 15-year-old and a 16-year-old boy, less than enthusiastic in all honesty about going to serve.
Stay home and hang out with their friends, work their jobs, play their sports.
Which we can put ourselves in their shoes and understand where they would come from. But the question is like, why can't we just give? And our answer is, we do give, and which some people
we give, you and I.
Exactly.
So I mean, although they have a place to put their giving money, for them there's no sacrifice in the giving.
Correct. There's just something important about teaching people, like you said, to be boots on the ground, and also just working with these families that are affected by cancer. The perspective that helped to give our kids was very helpful.
And as we've discussed multiple times, we like to microdose adversity ourselves, and we like to encourage microdosing adversity in our children. Mm-hmm. Again, we constantly say this is a first world problem when we discuss most things, but for our kids who have a very comfortable lifestyle, Austin said last week, not spoiled. So other than the trips we take as a family, I would say, we work very hard to try to make sure that we aren't raising spoiled children as far as responsibilities, work ethic, expectations, things like that within our household. I feel like we're tougher than many of the families that we are familiar with, and with our kids just hoping to raise responsible, hardworking adults. But as far as microdosing adversity, it's just putting them in a situation where they're uncomfortable with people they don't know, in an environment that wasn't comfortable. Now, we've been to Kenya, so again, we keep saying it wasn't Kenya, which was third world, but in first world circumstances, the accommodations were not comfortable. They were definitely very run down.
We weren't backpacking,
no,
but it was definitely...
Maybe one step up from backpacking.
Yeah.
We use the word motel generously.
Kind of like Motel 6 type of accommodations.
A pretty rundown Motel 6, yes. Yeah. But anyway, and we actually were able to get 2 rooms for the family of 6. We were supposed to have 1 room, which would have been crazy. Just having, 2 adult-sized children in addition to a 5-year-old and another tween, almost teen. So anyway, the accommodations, the hot, sweaty environment, and just going to things that they did not want to be a part of necessarily. They weren't choosing how they spent their time. That was all just part of the experience, and just encouraging them to have a good attitude, a servant heart. And some of the time that happened, definitely what we talked about a lot on this trip was how different our kids are. And we already knew that. But just seeing Dylan, our 12-year-old, really thrive in this environment. He loves people. He loves kids. And he's really, really good at being in an environment like this. In fact, he would love to go back. The older 2, certainly age contributed to it. I think if they were younger, they probably would have participated in a different way. And then taking Evie actually wasn't as simple as I might have imagined. Yeah. So I don't think we had prepared ourselves. We thought, well, she'll just go and play with kids. But we dealt with the 5-year-old whiny and tired, and I don't want to cooperate, and I'm not going to do what you want me to do. And the things that we worked through at home, we took on the road and into a more challenging environment. So yeah, it was not an easy week, but of course, what is easy? So. And
I think, so just kind of a learning lesson and something for parents who might be raising younger kids that haven't had the chance to participate in a mission trip yet, is to look at different options for you. One thing that we've done with all of our kids except for Evie is we've gone to Mexico, Ensenada, with Homes of Hope and built homes. And I think all the boys they were all about 8 or so when we did that trip. I think all of them have gone with just me, and then we did a family trip about 6 years ago. It was our first fall break here, I think. We went to California, and then we finished up the trip with meeting up with our old church down there, and we went as a family. And so that was a kind of a more hands-on service trip, less of a interpersonal type of trip. We were working with a lot of people that we knew.
Right.
And also just being aware of the personalities of your kids, because our oldest is definitely an introvert. So putting him in a group of basically 150 strangers,
right.
It puts him outside of his comfort zone, but it's also realizing, you know what? God has given a gift to each of us. And so trying to find what's the gift that you have to serve God, where what we saw is Dylan absolutely shined. Like
right.
There was a couple nights where we had the night off and we could go off site. It was kind of cafeteria style dining. Definitely not our, the type of food that we prefer.
Correct.
And we took advantage of every opportunity to go off site to eat. And there was like twice where Dylan's like, can I stay?
Yeah.
And he's just so independent, well adjusted. He loved to stay behind and just hang out with the kids that he was there to serve. And the kids of all ages really loved him. He just ate it up. So it was fun to realize, even though it wasn't the ideal scenario for our older two, it was a phenomenal environment for Dylan, and he just shined in it. And it's something that if he doesn't do another Lighthouse retreat, he will probably do something similar, whether it's a camp or him serving or something like that.
Yes. And it was also just a neat experience to get to know the family that we were able to serve. So we met Kaylee's family. Kaylee's 6 years old, and she's in treatment, and just precious little girl, cute little redhead. And she and Evie played well together, and Dylan did a great job with her when she was able to interact and play with us. She did have to go to the hospital, and I just messaged her mom today, and praise God, she's finally out of the hospital. Her fever is broken, but her immunity was low, and as a result got an infection while she was there. So she still got to experience, I think, a lot of the blessings, but not all of them. And we just flowed with it the best we could, but obviously our heart was definitely concerned about her and praying for her and her family as they walked through just the multiple doctor visits, ER visits, flying home. And they took 2 flights and a decent drive from the airport to get to the retreat. So again, putting all of our discomfort in perspective to what these families go through is just a reminder for all of us of how much we have to be grateful for and how much need there is in the world to just be the hands and feet of Jesus.
And the conversation that we had over and over with our kids was, number one, be incredibly thankful that you don't have cancer. Because we saw kids in wheelchairs and different types of, physical challenges, not to mention just all the disruption. We talked about this with our kids. Kaylee spent half the retreat either in the hospital or in her room, kind of in isolation,
right.
And then spent the next couple days in the hospital as well.
Right.
And what a disruption. The things that we get frustrated by, the little inconveniences of, the TV doesn't work, or, my phone isn't working, or other goofy things like that. Whether it's a child or an adult, we get frustrated about really stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have this conversation and this reminder for all of us, man, so grateful that I'm healthy, that our kids are healthy, but also for them to realize, even if you're healthy, if you have a sibling that has cancer, the whole family, it's kind of like you don't just marry a spouse, you marry a family. You just don't have a child with cancer, the whole family has to deal with cancer.
Right.
And so just to help our kids have that perspective, and all of us to have that perspective of, man, and it's not like, thank God I don't have it, but thank God my siblings don't have it, because it really does impact the entire family. We know that, the divorce rate for couples that have to go through something like that is higher than the average, just because of the strain that it puts on the marriage.
Yep. So it was a lot of perspective shifting all week long, because I think just in general, we're selfish as human beings. And then teenagers are definitely very self-focused. 5-year-olds are also very self-focused. And so we spent a lot of the week just putting things in perspective consistently, reminding people who we were there for, why we were there. But overall, I'm grateful we did it. I think it was an important week. And then I remember when we were setting it up, said, hey, let's stay a couple extra days and make the most of our trip to Georgia. And I thought, oh man, we're already going to be gone a week. I don't know that I really want to stay any longer, but we ended up being gone 10 full days, and we booked 3 nights at another hotel nearby that we could go to. And it was such a joy. I'm so grateful we had that time together. We went to the beach.
Before we move on to that, I just want to share one of the coolest things for me of the retreat was that the daily agenda was pretty much letting the kids just play. I don't think I've ever seen, so the cool thing about where we stayed was they just had this large grassy area, and there was tons of yard games set up, a 9-square cornhole, football. We went to the pool every day, and you just didn't see electronics. What you saw was probably, gosh,
50?
50 or more kids. And we broke up, typically boys and girls, and then would come together, but just playing. And of all ages, kids played together regardless of what age. It was just such a cool, refreshing thing to see. And then the other thing for the moms, and normally it's the parents, they have a time called Common Ground, which is about 2 hours in the morning. For the parents, Lighthouse has a counselor on staff that facilitates this Common Ground meeting. And it's an opportunity for the parents of the kids with cancer to get together with other parents, because they tend to live on an island,
right,
and they don't have that opportunity to just relate to other people who are in the same boat as them. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's great.
As a really cool, what does the families attending the retreat get? It's to minister to them. And the other thing is just these kids finally get a chance to just be kids and treated like normal, and to just go play and have fun with a bunch of other kids.
So we would love it if you would check out Lighthouse Retreat, do your own research, see if it's something you'd want to support financially or serve at one of the retreats, or maybe someone or you're dealing with someone who has childhood cancer, then this is a retreat that you could apply for as well. And It's just a really neat opportunity. And they do them in a couple different areas of the country.
Mostly in the Southeast, but I think they're doing a retreat potentially, I can't remember, I think they're doing something, where did they say they're going? I think North Carolina. I don't know if they're going to end up having any in the West Coast or not. Their goal is to stay beachy, but they do them primarily in Georgia and Florida, but some other locations as well.
Yeah, so we'd absolutely recommend checking it out in one form or another for your family. And then I just wanted to spend just a couple minutes about the time that we had afterwards as a family, because we're in this interesting dynamic of raising, again, teens who don't really love family time right now or want that to be a priority for them. And we have a big age range in our kiddos. And we had such a precious time together for those couple of days where we just decompressed and got to play together as a family. Because even though we were serving as a family, we didn't spend a lot of time together because we were all divided up into our different groups, which was totally appropriate. But to be gone a whole week, I didn't see our kids a lot. We didn't have a lot of conversation time. And so I loved those couple of days we spent together, just playing on the beach, having good conversations. One of the things that we love to do when we travel especially is to take conversation cards. So if you guys have not gotten yourself a set of these, I think they've become more popular over time. I've seen people who've made them for their families, but you can easily buy a set. We have a set for family, a set for teens, and they just have these great discussion questions, and we'll just sort through them and take a big stack. At a lot of the dinners we went to or breakfasts, I would bring them out and we would just start talking about things. And it just gives you an opportunity to ask each other questions. And if conversation isn't happening naturally, which with teenagers, we don't always have a free flow of conversation, at least healthy conversation, it gives us a chance to get to know each other better and just learn more about each other and kind of what's going on in everyone's head.
Yeah, the Lighthouse, they give everyone a journal for the week, kind of a devotional. And one of the things that we enjoyed doing was going through some of the questions they asked. And it was, they're reflective of the experience, our experience, others. It was a good opportunity, and asking questions helps to reveal that many times kids are picking up things that we're not aware of, and it's encouraging as a parent when you ask good questions that generate some good discussion to realize they are learning some things.
Yeah. We have little glimpses. Somebody captured a pretty cool picture of Evie and I when we had a worship night, and I just had my arms out worshiping, and she ended up just kind of modeling the same thing next to me. Mm-hmm. And it was very precious because, we know that a lot of what we do is more caught than taught. And so even when we sometimes feel like we're not moving the dial forward with the hearts of our kids towards Jesus or being more others focused, we get these glimpses and these conversations that no, there's transformation taking place. There's good roots there. It's just sometimes hard to see it in different seasons. And it gives me great hope. And then we have just some fun, silly times. I will forever remember our last night there as just one of the most fun times. If you're raising a teenager, maybe you can relate to this, but we just don't have a ton of really awesome fun times right now. It's not because having teens isn't fun. There are some good moments, but there's just a lot of tension. Multiple teens at the same time, very different personalities in our household. Having a 5-year-old, there's just a lot. It's a lot of emotions most of the time. And it's not normal that everyone's kind of having a great time all together. Sometimes it's like playing whack-a-mole. And for some reason, maybe it was just the last night there, we had had a great dinner and we were heading home, and all of a sudden Carson and I started singing "We Didn't Start the Fire," and I was like, I have no idea what these lyrics are. I've heard this song a million times growing up in the 80s.
Well, just to be clear, you didn't just start singing it. I was playing it on the playlist, and you guys decided to sing along.
Yeah, so I couldn't sing it from scratch. I only knew about 1/10 of the words. So I pulled up the lyrics, and then Carson, who's not one to normally jump into 80s music or participate in any family activity, decided to start singing it along with me, and he was crushing the lyrics, which is amazing. Dylan grabbed onto it from the back seat, and in the middle seat, Evie and Austin were having some type of, I don't know, tickle fest or game or something while we were driving home, and literally you and I just kept looking at each other and laughing because it was an obnoxious amount of noise. When you think of "We Didn't Start the Fire," all those lyrics blasting, the other two messing around, and just the car was like a circus. We just looked at each other, but it was that good kind of noise that you're just like, okay, thank you, Lord, for these good moments, this fun activity. It really filled my soul. And in fact, with the boys gone, our house has been so quiet. You and I just keep looking at it like, I know, it is delightful. My mama's heart does miss the people, but not the chaos.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's a lot of chaos when all the boys are here, and Evie, it's funny, Evie's not quiet at all when her brothers are around, but with just her by herself, she obviously plays a lot more quietly. There's less disruption, less good playing, less arguing, all the things. So happy Father's Day.
Another travel tip is, if you're going to have two different phases, do the tough phase before the easier phase.
Yes.
And it was intentional. We kind of learned this. We did this in Kenya when we did our mission trip there.
Right.
We wrapped up with a safari. We did some ministry along the way at the safari, but it was mostly fun. It was the nicest hotel that we stayed in on the trip, which made it. Yeah, we ended up on a high, and we ended up doing the same thing for this. And it was amazing hearing our kids talk about, oh my gosh, this bed is so nice. The towels are so nice.
The toilet paper was too fine.
Toilet paper, yeah, exactly. it was really nice toilet paper. So that's a good travel tip for you to always, do your best to end up on a high note. So just as a reminder, LighthouseFamilyRetreat.org, awesome ministry. One cool testimony is there was a family that came where, divorced, but the father of the children was Muslim. And one of the stories that was shared with us is that when this family, applied, kind of like, can we go? This is a Christian retreat. You don't have to be a Christian to attend as a retreat family. They will serve anybody. But there's an absolute, it's clear that it's a Christian retreat. They're not shoving the Bible down anyone's throats. But they're also not hiding the fact that they're a Christian retreat. And her response was, basically, the Muslims haven't served us so far. We might as well give the Christians a chance. And it was just a cool reminder that many times the way that Jesus served people was he just met them where they were at. He met their physical needs. He just served them. Exactly. Practical needs. He fed them and, healed them, and he just took care of them with those. So it's an awesome ministry doing really cool things.
Yep.
All right, folks, quick reminder that we would absolutely appreciate your 5-star reviews on whatever podcast platform that you're listening to us on. And also remember to share this, because if you're enjoying this, think of any family or friends that would also benefit from our content and share it with them. Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Uncommon Freedom Show. We believe that God gives us families so we can serve others together. You can connect with us at beckandkev.com for more resources to learn biblical principles, essential disciplines, and winning habits that help once average people lead the life they want instead of accepting the life they were given.